Shimano Stella SW, Shimano's premier saltwater fishing reel. We're going to be going over some good, some bad, and my personal recommendations. Coming up. What's going on, tackle junkies? It's your boy Juno Ryan coming at you with another video. Today's video I'm going to be breaking down the Shimano Stella, what I think about it, some good, some bad, and just some other random tidbits of information. If you're new here, this channel, I do a lot of fishing, I do some vlogging, and I also do gear reviews just like this video. So if you're interested, hit that subscribe button. Y'all, today I'm going to go ahead and break down the video in a couple different sections. First off, let's get this out of the way. Y'all, this is just my personal recommendations. You all are grown adults, you have your own money, and you can do whatever you want with that money. So don't get all mad, don't get all the Shimano fanboys, don't get super mad at just a video. That's all it is, it's a video. Get over it, guys, it's gonna be okay. Background on the Stella. The Stella was first introduced in 1993, remade in 1999, then again in 2008, and then again in 2013. This currently is the 2013 version, and it's expected that 2019 there will be even a newer version of the Shimano Stella. So a lot of what I reference in today's video is going to be coming from Alan Hawk's online review of the Shimano Stella SW. Alan Hawk's website is probably the premier spinning reel information resource on the internet. So it's flashing on the screen right now. Also go ahead and check the description. I have a link built to his overall write-up, which goes insanely in depth into this reel and many other spinning reels. So big shout out to Alan Hawk, huge fan of your work. The guy is an absolute fishing reel connoisseur. I'm gonna go ahead and try not to be that guy that goes ahead and just reads off the listed features on Shimano's website.
You're talking about twin turbo V8 spitting out 560 ponies, son.
He reads the brochure. I'm proud.
Website. You guys can go ahead and search Shimano's website. In fact, I'll have that linked in the description as well. And you can see the features that Shimano goes ahead and puts into this spinning reel. Next, I'm gonna go over some negatives, some positives, some alternatives, and my overall assessment of the Shimano Stella SW. Kicking it right off, the Shimano Stella SW is the most expensive spinning reel on the market, with prices from $1,000 up to around $1,300 on US markets. This reel is quite the pretty penny. Now, whether that's worth it or not is up to you, but I just wanted to go ahead and show you guys kind of what the prices are looking like in the US. One of the first thing I noticed with the Shimano Stella when I got it was there was play in certain areas that I found, which you really don't expect in such a high-end spinning reel. There's a very small amount of play in the rotor. You can see if you look at the bail arm, and it's slightly moving. There's a little bit of play in the handle that you can feel. And there's a little bit of play in the shaft, which is quite disconcerting in a spinning reel of this value. Really what it ends up being is there's just too much room for error in a lot of the parts. So in between bearings and seals and bearing holders, there's just a little bit too much room. You would expect that Shimano would have been a little bit more precise with a lot of their pieces, because other high-end spinning reels in this market don't really have the play in those areas. Overall, it doesn't really affect the fishability. However, if I'm spending this much money on a spinning reel, I would expect that it would be a little bit higher, there would be higher tolerances in the parts. Now on this particular version of the Shimano Stella SW, there's a few too many plastic parts inside and out for my taste. Just for instance, real quick, the top of the spool right here, plastic, cheap feeling. Underneath the rotor right here, plastic, cheap feeling. A couple of the finishes, plastic. Doesn't affect the fishability, but again, you would expect higher end materials in a reel like this. Probably what happened is they tried to cut a little bit of weight by using plastic as opposed to metal, but overall, not really impressed with the use of plastic on this reel. Internally, Shimano actually downgraded the gearing in this reel. The pinion gear is made of brass as opposed to hardened steel. You would expect hardened steel in a high quality super spinner such as this. Now, over the last 6 years that this reel has been out, there haven't been extreme accounts of the pinions wearing out, so I guess it's overall fine, but you would really look for higher quality components in something like this. To the dismay of many Shimano fans, this version of the Shimano Stella is actually tighter to spin than the previous version made in 2008. Now, that tightness to spin, a lot of people erroneously call it smoothness. Now, not smoothness is the tightness with which it spins. The reason being is Shimano beefed up the sealing in this reel. However, they still don't claim that the reel is waterproof. It's still just as listed as water resistant, just as much as the 2008 was claimed to be water resistant. This reel gonna be fine taking a dunking every once in a while, probably not good to be fished underwater like some surf reels such as a Van Staal or a Z-Bass. Shimano also went ahead and removed the very handy service port that was present on previous models of this reel. The service port was located in this overall area. You could unscrew and you could put a drop or two of lube in there. You could also see if any water had gotten into your body. If you did, however, dunk your reel for an extended period of time, you'd be able to see if any water was in there. So it was very handy before. Some reason they went and removed it. Not really a good explanation for that. Last negative worth pointing out is this reel is heavy. The weight of the reel versus the line capacity that it actually holds is higher than comparable super spinners such as the Saltiga and other reels. So Shimano went ahead and went with a stronger design, but the trade-off was the amount of weight that the reel has. Probably the reason for the plastic parts that I was just complaining about earlier. Side note, the 30,000 size of the Shimano Stella SW comes highly not recommended by many different sources. It's essentially a 20,000 with an oversized rotor and oversized spool. Gear ratio is exactly the same, you just gain a little bit more line because the spool's bigger. You have significantly less drag than the 20,000 because same drag system, larger spool, laws of physics equals less drag. If you want to do the math, go ahead and do the math, but trust me guys, it's not a recipe for success. There's been many accounts of shafts being bent by anglers, the reels busting. Dennis Ferret completely destroyed one on a large yellowfin off the rocks. The 30,000 is probably not the reel you want if you're getting a super spinner in that class. You will probably want to look elsewhere. Moving on into the positives, the Shimano Stella is one of the best casting reels on the market, excluding long cast spinning reels, which really are a completely different animal. Now, this is due to the fact that Shimano has gone ahead and created this lip. Pretty much all of their spinning reels have it now. Also, one of the reasons that it has much better casting distance of other reels is the angle of the foot. Now, the angle of the foot makes a much more natural release of the line off the spool to the first guide, minimizing the friction of the line. Now, there's actually been accounts of dudes really struggling with casting distance on certain fishing rods. Shimano has gone ahead and come out and said the reason for this is the stripper is too close to the spool of the reel. So specific rods will allow this reel to cast very far. Specific rods may not allow this reel to cast very far. It's just important when you're matching your reel to your rod that you go ahead and figure that out. Pretty much what they've said, you want your stripper, first guide on your rod, to be far from your spool. That's pretty much sums it up. Next up, Shimano has went ahead and improved the overall strength of the body. There is no flex in the rotor, and the actual body itself has been increased in mass, which leads to stronger body, less flexing, less problems when your reel is under a significant amount of load. Now, even though this reel is a couple years old now, Shimano has maintained the best drags on the market when it comes to spinning reels. This is due to the high quality components inside the spool and also the wave spring design of the drag cap, which allows the line to come off very smoothly off the spool. Normally what you have happen is as the line's coming from the top of the spool versus the bottom of the spool, there's differences in the amount of tension applied as it comes off and hits the rotor. Makes sense, right? Well, the wave spring really negates that and makes it unnoticeable to the actual user. Now, not specific to the Stella, but specific to the company Shimano, they have the best customer service when it comes to servicing your super spinner. Now, don't even get me started with guys that say reels don't need to be serviced. They absolutely do, like any other piece of machinery. But Shimano has proven, in my experience, as well as many other anglers online, to be the best when it comes to serving the guys that are trying to get their reels back. They get them back in a timely manner, and they don't charge them an arm and a leg when it comes to actually getting their reel serviced. If the reel needs to be completely rebuilt, there's plenty of accounts where dudes spent a flat rate and got their reel completely rebuilt. The Shimano Stella is not going to fail you when it comes to fishing. Well, the probability is very, very low, as is with other high-end spinning reels. But You're probably not buying a Shimano Stella just because you don't want your reel to fail you. Cheaper reels will get the job done, time in, time out. However, it is worth noting that this reel will probably last you as long as parts are available. Which brings me into an interesting point of the 2019 coming out. And traditionally, Shimano has only made parts for around a decade after the reel is discontinued. So there may be parts specific to this reel which you may not be able to get 10 years down the road. Due to the name Stella, Shimano has maintained one of the highest resale values among super spinners. So buying one isn't always the worst investment. You probably will be able to get a solid return on your money. My last positive, which obviously matters when it comes to a high-end spinning reel, is the aesthetics. This, I believe, is one of the best looking spinning reels on the market. Aesthetics are subjective, but however, they are still important when it comes to high-end reels. And this reel, y'all, is an absolute beauty. Stay. Stay. Now, moving on into some alternatives. The Shimano Stella absolutely is not necessary.
Necessary? Is it necessary for me to drink my own urine? Probably not. No, but I do it anyway because it's sterile and I like the taste.
When it comes to super spinners, alternatives you have are the Diawa Saltiga, the Okuma Makaira, as well as the Pen Torque. All super spinning reels, all highly capable of catching large pelagic fish on a spinning reel. Lower price range reels, the Shimano Saragosa has pretty much everything you would need in a large spinning reel and will really get the job done. It may not last you as long as a Stella, but it will absolutely get the job done in almost all situations. A little bit cheaper than that, you have the Shimano Spheros, which is also a very highly capable reel. May not have the drag capability of a Saragosa or a Stella, but is another highly capable reel at a significant fraction of the price. Even cheaper than that, you run into the Nor Offshore for a very large spinning reel. That's a pretty solid reel that you'll be able to catch large fish on, as well as the Diawa BG, and it's really the best bang for your buck when it just comes to an overall spinning reel. Now, my overall assessment of the Stella is it's a great reel. It's not going to fail you when you're fighting fish, and it's really going to last you as long as you take care of it. It does have a high price, does have downgraded gearing, and it does have some plastic in places that I'm not a fan of, but that's just my opinion. 2019, they are coming out with a new version of the Stella. There's been some photos released of it, and it is going to be a significant improvement over this reel. As I stated earlier, Shimano traditionally has not maintained parts for reels forever. Makes sense, right? This reel started being made in 2013. They might not make parts for it come 2023. So it is a risk buying the 2013 version of this Stella, which is why I personally recommend you should probably wait and buy a 2019 version if you're in the market for one, or consider buying one of these and then getting rid of it in a couple of years. There's probably an alternative out there for you, but do a little bit more research and this just might be the perfect reel for you. Y'all, at the end of the day, it's your money and it's your decision to buy a reel. Really, it's that simple. Okay, Tackle Junkies, that is all the time we have for today's video. If you like the video, go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. If you guys want to see more videos just like this one, go ahead and leave a comment in the section below, and I'll be happy to get back to you. Y'all, it's been a pleasure, and I'm going to be catching you guys in that next video.